Well, we here at Silverado Middle School are beyond pleased to welcome our 2017 Napa Reads author, Mr. Chris Grabenstein. Did you know that Mr. Grabenstein is the author of the New York Times best-selling series, Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library, this year's Napa Reads selection? He's also written a variety of other books, which I'm going to list here, but that hardly scratches the surface. Here's a few. Welcome to Wonderland, Home Sweet Motel, The Island of Dr. Labrise, and he's also a co-author with James Patterson of the #1 bestsellers iFunny, House of Robots, Treasure Hunters, Jackie Ha Ha, and Word of Mouse, not to mention many, many others. Mr. Grabenstein, right here, he writes fast-paced, fun page-turners. He's also a playwright, a screenwriter, and not to mention a former advertising executive and improvisational comedian. He's funny. Let's give him a warm welcome, just as we do here at Silverado Middle School, Mr. Chris Grabenstein.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. Oh, it's good to be here, traveling all around, coming to beautiful Napa Valley. Anybody here in the 8th grade? Any 8th graders here? Okay, up there on that screen is my 8th grade class picture over there on the right. Have any of you been able to figure out which one of those kids I was when I was in the 8th grade? I think you had an idea. Which one was I? First picture, second row. Oh, over there the guy's got like a receding hairline, looks like he's going bald. No, I didn't start going bald till like 15 years ago. That guy was going bald in the 8th grade. By the time we got to high school, we called him Chrome Dome. Anybody else want to guess which one was I when I was in the 8th grade? Yes? The kid with the writing on his face. No, that was my one friend in junior high school. My one friend who signed my yearbook. I only had one friend that year. Yes, which one was I? The one in the glasses? There's second row from the top? Nope. In fact, since I mostly write mysteries, I'm going to give you guys a little clue. When I was in the 8th grade, my eyesight was better than it is today. I did not wear glasses when I was in the 8th grade. Guess which one was I? Second to the last row on the far end. That's a girl. It was the time was 1968. Things were a little strange back then. It was yeah, back here, yes. The first one in the 3rd row, going up or down? Going up. Oh, the guy with the big afro kind of hairdo going. I used to have hair like that. All right, I'm going to show you guys. This was me when I was in the 8th grade. Yeah, I know, it's kind of hard to believe. I was so innocent looking when I was in the 8th grade. Well, that was me, and I show you that picture for a couple reasons. One, to prove before I started going bald, before my hair turned gray, I was actually at one point in my life the same age as you guys, and I was in the 8th grade. And also in the 8th grade is when I first realized that I wanted to be a writer when I grew up. It kind of started in 7th grade, though. That's me there. I had the bowl haircut going there. Look, that's a good look, guys. Just put a bowl on your head and just cut the hair around. That was me in the 7th grade, and I worked on the school newspaper, and I wish I could remember that teacher's name. She was my 7th grade English teacher, and she was a sponsor of the school newspaper. And when I had to write essays for homework, I would write like funny essays, and that teacher wrote in the margins of one of my papers, "You will make your living as a writer someday." And when a teacher tells you something, you know it has to be true. Because teachers everywhere take a solemn vow to never, ever lie to children. Isn't that right, teachers? You remember that day you made that vow. Plus, you know, if my parents had said, "Oh, Chris, you're so talented, you could be a writer," I would have said, "You're my mother and father, you get paid to say nice things about me." But when a teacher tells you something, oh, maybe it's true, maybe I've got a little talent. So I can prove that I'd made up my mind to become a writer in 8th grade, because every year, I don't think you guys have to do this anymore. We had to write the same essay. What do you want to be when you grow up? And for years I said I want to be a doctor or a lawyer or a chemical engineer like my father. But in 8th grade I changed my mind, and this is what I wrote. But now my mind wanders to a new thought. To be a comedian or a writer is my quest. If this flops, I would be content to be a millionaire and run Grabenstein's department stores if I could ever fit the name on a sign. I got a B+ on that. I'm still hoping someone will upgrade it to an A. So now I'm living my 8th grade dream. These are all the books I've written so far for guys your age. I started out writing a bunch of ghost stories called the Haunted Mystery Series, all about a boy named Zach Jennings who can see ghosts and the ghosts can see him. Then I wrote a play called Curiosity Cat and an Ocean's 11 starring 11-year-olds called Riley Mack and the Other Known Troublemakers, a popular favorite for some of us here today. That's one of our favorite books of all time. And also I started writing books with this guy named James Patterson. Anyone here ever heard of this guy? James, of course you have. He's the #1 best-selling author in the history of authors. He's actually in the Guinness Book of World Records for having written more bestsellers than any author who's ever lived. And together we do the iFunny books. Anyone read those iFunny books? Thank you guys very much. Thanks to you guys. That was the first book with my name on the cover to make it to #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. Another series called Treasure Hunters. Anyone read the Treasure Hunters books? Another big bestseller. Then we did House of Robots. There were 3 books in that series. Another one, #1 New York Times bestseller. Last year we were busy. We did Word of Mouse, Laugh Out Loud, Potty Mouth and Stupid, and 2 Jackie Ha-Ha books. And all by myself, I wrote this book over here, Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library. And it was the first book with only my name on the cover to make it to the New York Times bestseller list. And it's been in the top 10 now for 111 weeks. It's been nominated for 44 different state book awards. It's won 22, including the California Young Readers Medal. So thank you guys for that. And recently, it was turned into a movie on Nickelodeon. And then we did a sequel called Mr. Lemoncello's Library Olympics, another big bestseller. And then like a month ago, Mr. Lemoncello's Great Library Race came out. Another one of my favorite books. I saw someone was reading it, The Island of Dr. Libris, all about a boy with a really big imagination. And any story he reads, the characters come to life on a mysterious island in the middle of a lake. And then I have a new series called Welcome to Wonderland, Home Sweet Motel, which is heavily illustrated like the iFunny books. And like I said, they did just make a movie out of Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library. It was on Nickelodeon, and it starred this kid, Casey Simpson, who's on the Nickelodeon show Ricky Dicky Donkey Dorky Dookie Dicky Donkey. Ricky Ticky Taffy? Oh, that's the name of it, yeah. And that's the name of the book. And Brianna Eady, who's in their School of Rock show, played Akimi Hughes in it. And I got to go to Hollywood for the big premiere. They didn't have a red carpet. They had an orange carpet because it's Nickelodeon, so everything's orange. So I got to hang out with the Caseinator and all those guys. It was a lot of fun. And you guys want to see the trailer to this movie? Here's the trailer to this movie.
Ladies and gentlemen, behind these doors is a library where the books come to life.
Hi, friend. I'm Charlotte. From Charlotte's Web. Jack and the Beanstalk.
Well, well, well.
As you solve puzzles, you will gain access to the clues.
Oh, bingo, baby.
These clues will help you to answer the big question. How to escape from Mr. Lemoncello's library. Let's do this.
Yeah, that was on Nickelodeon October 9th, and I think it's been on Nickelodeon 5 or 6 more times. I know this because my mother has seen it 5 or 6 more times on Nickelodeon. And before I wrote any of those books, I used to write for the Muppets. You guys like the Muppets? I love the Muppets. I love those little fuzzy guys. They were a lot of fun. And I also wrote a made-for-TV movie called The Christmas Gift starring John Denver. And it first came out way back in 1986 on CBS television. And it's still on every year around this time, usually on the Hallmark Channel, usually at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm the only one still watching it. And then I also spent almost 20 years writing radio and television commercials for people like Kentucky Fried Chicken and Dr. Pepper and 7-Up. And guess who my first boss was in advertising? James Patterson. Before we wrote about treasure hunters or houses filled with robots, we wrote about flame-broiled Whoppers for Burger King. It was good times. You guys want to see a couple commercials I did for 7-Up back in the day? These are ones starring Orlando Jones, who was a big star on Mad TV.
When you're selling soft drinks, the most important thing is getting them on the shelf. So how do I find room for a great tasting drink like 7-Up? Oh, the answer is easy. Can I get a mop on aisle 6, please? Thank you. After a big win, the football team usually dumps a bucket of ice water on the coach. Now I thought, why not 7-Up? Maybe next time we'll take it out of the cans.
So that was a fun job. You'd come up, use your imagination. I'd be out like walking the dog and get a wacky idea in my head and write a script. And like 3 weeks later, we'd be down in Hollywood filming a commercial with people like Orlando Jones and stuff. And that was fun. But in 2001, I said to myself, I don't want to write commercials for the rest of my life. So I quit my job. I had some money in the bank, but I had no income. I quit my job. I went home and I started writing books. Have you guys ever given something to one of your teachers and they said, you can do better than that? And they tell you to go back and try again. Have you ever been rejected? Well, I spent a year on a book. I was working on this manuscript for a full year. I finally sent the book out to every literary publisher in New York City, and they all sent it back and they said, no, you have been rejected. So I spent another year, and I wrote another book, and we sent it to every publisher in New York, and you know what they all said? No, you have been rejected. So I spent a third year, and I worked on a third book, and we sent it to every publisher in New York, and you know what they said? No, you have been rejected. But fortunately, during this time, I had Chinese food for dinner one night, and I cracked open my fortune cookie, and inside my fortune cookie was this slip of paper, which I stay. It said, fall down 7 times, stand up 8 times. Because it's like the great Muhammad Ali once said, it's not about the hits you take, it's about how you get back up. So I spent another year, and I wrote a 4th book, and I sent it out to every publisher in New York, and you know what they all said? Be here today. This is dying. I'm going to get rid of this. We'll go over to this microphone over here. Let's see what we got. We have an emergency microphone standing by, but it's taped. Okay, here we go. Emergency microphone. There we go. Turn this one off over here. So yes, my first book was finally published in the year 2005, and it was a mystery for adults called Tilt-A-Whirl, and it went on to win an award for the best first mystery that year. And that was in 2005. We should probably turn this down a little bit, my friend. You should probably turn this down. It's going to do some feedback here. Yeah. So that came out in 2005, and now what is it now? 2017. In the 12 years since I was first published, 47 different books have been published, all because I refused to take no for an answer. But I know what you're thinking. I can read your mind right here. I see it right there. You're saying, yeah, that's a lot of books, Chris. 47 books, that's a lot of books. And you wrote for the Muppets, and you wrote that movie, and you did like television commercials for only almost 20 years. But can you write something right now? Do you think I can make up a story right here on the spot? Someone said no. I'm going to take that as a challenge. Yes, I think I can do it if you guys help me out. Now, the first thing that every author or any writer needs, of course, are words. So that's why I asked some of the guys who got here early to write down words for me. Who wrote down words for me again? Remind me, some over here wrote down some words. I've got your words in my back pocket. Someone shuffled them up. Who was my word shuffler? There's my word shuffler right there. So I have shuffled words in my back pocket. Good. Now, the next thing we need, if as an author, turn this over here. The next thing we do as an author is we take words and we put them together to form sentences. So I'm going to need the suggestion of 2 sentences. But before we do that, who can tell me what 2 types of words must be in each and every sentence in order for it to qualify as a full and complete sentence? What 2 types of words? Yes. A capital? No, I could write one if I was E.E. Cummings. I could do a whole poem without capital letters. Yes. Capital, a period? Nope, I could do without a capital, a period. I could put an exclamation point or a question mark. What 2 types of words? Yes. A verb is one of them. Don't need the adjective. What does an adjective modify? That'll give it, yes. A noun. Yes, all we need is a noun and a verb. Good job. That only took like 5 minutes. Sometimes it takes 20 minutes to find those 2 words. A noun and a verb. Who knows what a noun is over here? Who can tell me what a noun is? Yes, back there. A person, place, a thing, or an idea. And what's a verb? Who knows what a verb is over here? An action word. Good for you. So now I need 2 sentences. I only ask 2 things. 1, you keep them kind of short, like 5 or 6 words. And 2, make sure your sentence has a noun and a verb in it, because I'm not in the mood for fragments today. It can be anything at all. I just need a strange, bizarre sentence. Someone's got a sentence on the top tip of their tongue. Who's got a sentence? Somebody. Yes, in the hoodie back here. I ran home. That's an excellent sentence. We've got a noun, verb, and we actually have an object too. All right, I ran home. Okay, so now I need another sentence. Doesn't have to be about running. Could be as strange and as bizarre and as creative as you like. I'm looking for someone with a big smile on their face. Yes, what is your sentence? The indespicable frog? Do you mean the despicable frog? The nasty frog? Yeah, the despicable frog ran home. Oh, we all got everybody running home. Everyone wants to get home today. The despicable frog ran home. These are just so I can read later on. All right, so now we've got 2 sentences. I got some words in my back pocket. Don't know if I'm going to need those words, but as a writer, I always like to have some emergency words standing by. And now comes time for the big question. Now, last year, I went to 100 schools like this. I did 200 different Skype visits with classrooms all over the country, actually all over the world. I was talking to Uzbekistan last year. And guess what the number 1 question I get asked is all the time? No, not banana. No, not banana. If I can put banana up on the board, that's a good word. I like banana. Well, somewhere we'll put banana in our story too. We'll put banana up here, just because it's random, and I like randomness. All right, what is the question I get asked all the time? Yes? Nope, my question is, where do you come up with your ideas? And it's actually pretty easy. If you want to write or tell a story, all you got to do is keep your eyes open and look for something a little bit out of the ordinary, a little bit unusual. Because remember this, nobody wants to read nice stories about nice people having a nice day, or ordinary people doing ordinary things in an ordinary way. That would just be boring. So this book, I know you guys are reading, Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library. It's a movie, a bestseller. It's won all these awards and stuff. The whole thing got started one day when I was visiting this school in Brooklyn, New York. That's PS 10 in Brooklyn, New York. You ever come to New York, that's what all the public schools look like there. They're made out of red brick. They're 3 or 4 stories tall. They've been there since 1932. Forget about it. So I said to myself, it's just another ordinary school. But then they said, come on upstairs. You're going to meet the kids in our library. And this was the library in that building. It was brand new. It had solid oak bookcases filled with books, bright murals on the wall, computers everywhere. Does that library look like it belongs in that building? Not to me, it didn't. So I said, something is unusual here. So I went up to the librarian, Mrs. Macrina, there she is, and I said, how'd you guys get this really cool library in your otherwise kind of old-fashioned building? And she said, oh, a very generous millionaire donated it to us. So that day, on the subway ride home, I took out my writer's notebook and my pen, and I wrote down the 2 magic words that have started every one of those 47 books. What if? I wrote down, what if a very generous and somewhat loony bazillionaire donated a library to the town where he grew up. And that's how the whole book got started. You want to be looking for something a little bit unusual. And so for our story today, I need an assistant now. I need someone to come up. I was recently on a book tour in the strange world known as New Hampshire. And I found this toy store, and in that toy store were these cards, guaranteed to start a story. Every one of these cards has a different picture on it, guaranteed to start a story. Someone shuffled these for me. Someone did a beautiful bridge on it, as a matter of fact. So now I need someone, yes, back there with your hand up. Yes, your hand. Come on up. Come on up. I can't see you. You're wearing camouflage today. You're disappearing completely. That's why I almost couldn't call on you, because you were wearing camouflage. It's Air Jordan himself. All right, what's your name?
Bartholomew.
Have we ever met before?
No.
Thanks. I paid you $20 to say that. Okay, so I want you to pick a card. Any card. Not that one. Oh, okay, so listen. All right, what is on that card?
A princess with a raccoon on it.
A princess with a raccoon on it. So now, one of the most important things when we're writing and telling stories is to be very specific. You see any details in there? What's going on there?
It looks like the princess is telling the raccoon to go somewhere.
Ooh, the princess is telling the raccoon, like, go on a quest or something?
Yeah.
And what is the princess holding there in her hand?
A wand.
A magic wand. I need a good name for the princess. What's a good name for the princess? I got it already. It's Banana. It's Princess Banana. Thank you, my friend. And now I need a good name for the raccoon. What is the name for the raccoon? Yes? Hamper. Hamper? I like that. All right, you can sit down. Let's give him a round of applause. He picked our story starter. Hamper. Where'd I put the pen? I got to put a pen over here. I got to remember that the raccoon's name is Hamper. So it's Princess Banana. And the raccoon's name is Hamper. All right, I think I've got everything I need now. Excellent. I'll put this up here so you guys down front can see it. We're going to make up a story about this card. I've got some words if I need them. I've got sentences. What else do I need? Do I need anything else? Nope. One more thing, SpongeBob always comes by to remind me. I need to use my
imagination.
Thank you, SpongeBob. Appreciate you dropping by. I really appreciate it. All right, I am now going to tell you a story called The Raccoons Quest. And when I tell you this story about Princess Banana and Hamper the Raccoon, the very first sentence of my story will be, I ran home. And the last sentence of my story will be, the despicable frog ran home. So the next time I say the despicable frog ran home, what are you going to do? Please give me a round of applause. This is a round of applause. I learned this from some third graders in New Jersey. It's a round of applause. All right, I think I'm all set here. We're ready to go. Uh-oh. I just realized something. I have not written anything all day today. I've only had 1 cup of coffee. There is a chance that while I'm telling you guys this story, my brain may not be functioning on all 6 cylinders. There is a chance that I might encounter writer's block when I'm telling you this story. Have any of you ever had writer's block before? What is writer's block? What is writer's block? Yes, ma'am. You can't think of anything to say. You're staring at a blank sheet of paper and it's laughing at you going, write something, write something. I can't, ideas. Or your little cursor on your computer is going, write something, write something, write something. I can't, my mind is frozen. Well, should this happen to me, even though I'm a trained professional with 33 years of professional writing experience, if I have writer's block while I'm telling you the story, this is why I'm glad I've got these emergency words you guys did for me. If while I'm telling you guys the story, I have writer's block and I don't know what to say next, I'm going to reach into my back pocket, pull out one of these words, and whatever that word is, it has to be the next word in my story. Do I have some good words back here? They're smiling a little too much down here. I think I'm in trouble. Okay, here comes our story. I ran home as quickly as I could. I had spent the night rummaging in the garbage for food, but I ran home because I heard that Princess Banana needed me. So I ran to my home and where I live with my raccoon friends, and also we had a very nice strawberry there. We had 1 strawberry, which we kind of worshipped on a daily basis. It was a lot of fun. We had a strawberry. We'd slice it up and eat that strawberry. And so that's why Princess Banana came, because she knew that we were related to the strawberry raccoons. And she came in with her little magic wand. She said, hello, Hamper. I have a quest for you. I need you to bring me something. I need you to bring me hither a special, something very special, a special balloon. Can you find me a very special balloon? And when the princess asks you to do anything, you say, yes, princess, of course, princess, I shall go forth and find a special balloon. So that was the day I set forth. I left my strawberry behind. I left my raccoon family behind, and I headed west until I found the dogs. There were a lot of dogs out west, and they were the kind of snarly dogs, and they said, what you doing out here, raccoon? I said, I'm come to find a special balloon. And the dog said, hey, you can't have our balloons. They're dog balloons, and they're not filled with helium or air. They're filled with backpacks, because they float that way. We like to put the backpacks on our back and just let them float away. We're the only dogs who wear backpacks because we go up on trails all the time, so you can't come any further. And the raccoon said, no, I'm on a quest. I must go forth. I cannot let snarling dogs stop me. And so thinking fast, he pulled out his sparkles. He had sparkles in his pocket, and he threw the sparkles up in the air, and the sparkles fell down, and all the dogs went, hi-ho, hi-ho, we're off to work, we go. They turned into happy little dogs. They rolled over and he scratched their bellies. The sparkle powder had done its job. And so he went further into the woods and he saw a very special balloon. This balloon was shaped like a gymnasium. It was a giant square balloon with basketball nets inside it. And it was the most amazing balloon he'd ever seen. And he went over to get it. And there was a frog guarding it. The frog said, no, you might have gotten by the dogs, but you're not going to get by me, because I'm the most despicable frog in the forest. And the little, we're not done yet. No, because he hasn't gotten to that part yet. And the little raccoon said, I don't care. I've got sparkles in my pocket. I got a princess banana on my side. And he got some more sparkles, and he threw them up in the air. And that most despicable, nasty frog of them all was terrified. He abandoned that balloon shaped like a gymnasium, and the despicable frog ran home. The end. Quick story there. So, as you guys might have heard, before I did any of that writing that we talked about, I used to do improvisational comedy with a troupe in New York City. We had a guy named Bruce Willis in our troupe. He shaved his head, moved to California. We don't know what happened to him. And the late Robin Williams, that's him up there holding the hat, and that's him and me. We were doing a Shakespeare scene there. Whenever he was in New York City, he would jump up on stage with us, and we would make up stories and songs from audience suggestions. And when we did that, we only had one rule, and that rule was to always say yes, to never say no. Do you guys know anyone who always goes, no, we can't do that. No, we tried that. We can't do that. And when I was telling you this story, and I pulled out this word, what was this word? Special. I could have stopped right and said, no, special's not the right word. I got a raccoon and a princess. Special's not the right word. What would be the perfect word? And that's where writer's block comes from. When you try to make anything perfect the first time through. So when I write, what I do is I give myself permission to write a really bad, terrible, stinky, no good first draft, because I know the first draft is just for me. No one else is ever going to see it. So I sit down, I dash ahead, I don't edit myself, I let my imagination run wild, and then I go back and I make it better. How many of you guys rewrite every paper you turn in at school? And how many of you are telling me the truth right now? Because I am impressed. When I was in middle, that's like me, yeah, kind of, so. When I was in middle school, we had these little composition books, and I would start at the top of the page and go, ooh, look at me. Oh, there's no more lines on this sheet of paper. I must be done. I'd tear it off and turn it in. But in my 33 years of professional writing, I have learned that the secret to writing is rewriting. Nobody gets it right the first time, and if you quit trying to get it right the first time, you will never, ever, ever, ever have writer's block again. And I'm not the only one who thinks this way. You guys have probably heard of Charles Dickens, especially this time of year, wrote A Christmas Carol with Scrooge and Marley and the Ghost of Christmas Past. Well, I live in New York City, and there's a place there called the Morgan Library, and they own Charles Dickens' original, handwritten, first draft manuscript of A Christmas Carol, and that's what it looks like right there. You see all those black marks and places where things are crossed out? What's going on there? What do we call that process? Yes, what's going on? Nope, not writer's block, because he got it all down. What would you call it? Yes? editing. Good for you. Too often I go to schools and kids look at that and they go, oh, that's where Charles Dickens made a mistake. That's where he messed up. That Dickens, what a dum-dum. But just because you go back and change things does not mean you did anything wrong. It means he got all these great ideas down on paper. Now that it's down on paper, he can go back and make it better. Speaking of rewriting, should we rewrite our first sentence? What was it? I ran home. Is that a good first sentence to start a story? Yeah, well, it's kind of hard to judge unless we all agree. What do you think is the number one job of any writer? Whether it's me writing books or you guys writing the papers you turn in at school. What's our number one job? Yes? Yes, the whole job of a writer is getting the reader to keep reading, to capture the reader's attention. That's how I got a great email last week from a kid who was reading my book with a headlamp underneath the covers all night long till like 5 o'clock in the morning. We do not want bored readers. Have any of you ever picked up a book and read just the first sentence and gone, this is boring, and you put that book down, then you pick up another one, you read one sentence, you go, ooh, this is even lamer than that first one was. You put that one down, but then you pick up a book, and there's something about just that first sentence that grabs you, that hooks you, that pulls you into the story, and that's what we want all of our first sentences to do. So for instance, this is my new book, Mr. Lemoncello's Great Library Race. This is chapter 1, sentence number 1. This was a game Kyle Keeley refused to lose. Does anybody want to read what happens next? Why? What's going on in that one sentence that makes you want to keep on reading? What tricks did I play? Yes, back there in the hoodie. What tricks did I play to make you want to keep on reading with that one sentence? Hand went up before the mind was engaged. Yes?
What does he not want to lose?
Why does he not want to lose? Exactly. So there's a question in that sentence. In fact, there's 3 questions in that one sentence. If you haven't read the first book, you're going, who is Kyle Keeley? What is this game? And why does he refuse to lose? And what's the only way to find the answer to all those questions? Keep reading. So I've got you hooked. That's why your teachers will call that a hook sentence. All right. So now, I need a couple more volunteers here. I need a few volunteers who are not afraid of making a fool of themselves in public. Oh, your hand went up when I said fool. So come on up, my foolish friend. And you, my friend. Yes, come up in the purple. Yes, come on up. And I need a young, and on the edge there. All right. What's your name?
Aiden.
Aiden, let's get over here. I think it'll be safer over here. Aiden, I want you to stand on the, here and face this way. You guys come over here too. Come on. Thanks for volunteering. What's your name?
Carly.
Carly, stand next to Aiden and face this way. And what's your name?
Timothy.
Timothy, stand over there next to Carly and face this way. Bring those backpacks back so they're not dangerous. All right, now earlier today, you guys told me that every sentence has 2 types of words in it, a noun and a verb. Of those 2, which one do I think is the most important word in any sentence? The noun or the verb? You have a 50-50 chance of getting this right. The noun or the verb. Yes, back there. Yes. Oh, you had a 50-50 chance of getting it wrong. This is just my opinion, and I also always put the answer on the board. I'm a really bad teacher. What word do I think is the most important in any sentence? Yes? That's not even one of the options, but all right, we'll go with that. The adjective was not even listed there, but you're thinking. You like the adjectives, you like describe and stuff. I appreciate that. What would you say? A verb. And what's a verb? Who can remind me what a verb is? Yes? An action word. And when we write sentences, what we're kind of doing is painting pictures with words. And if I change just one word in any sentence, if I change just the verb, I can completely change the picture that sentence is painting. I will now demonstrate with your guys' help. You ready? I'm going to write a sentence in the air, and you guys will act it out here on the floor between that line. You ready? All right. The 3 students walked across the floor. Let's give them a round of applause. They're in 6th, 7th, 8th grade there. All right, go back to your first position. Go back to 1, as we say in Hollywood. Now, you see those words up there? Every single one of them is a verb that means to walk, but to walk in a different way. And if I change the verb, keep the noun the same, I will completely change the picture these guys are going to paint for me. For instance, how do you walk if you prance? Anybody know how do you walk if you prance? That's like a little bounce in your step, like la-dee-da-dee-da, like reindeers prance. I believe one's even called Prancer. Do you guys know how to prance? Hands in the pocket is never a good move for prancing. So they're still going to keep the noun, they're still going to be walking, but I think the picture will change considerably. The 3 students pranced across the floor. good prancing. All right. Santa's looking for a new reindeer. All right, go back to number 1. All right, how do you walk if you march? Everybody knows this, right? You lift your legs up. It's like very militaristic. They're still walking, but the picture will change completely. You ready? The 3 students marched across the floor and killed every single cockroach along the way. All right, going back to the beginning, and we'll do one more. How do you walk if you strut? Anyone? That's good. There's some strutting going on there. Like, look at me. I'm special. I'm all that in a bag of chips. Look at me. I told you how to make a fool of yourself. This is where we do that part. You ready to do some strutting? All right, the noun's going to stay the same. The verb will change, and I believe the picture will completely and totally change. The 3 students strutted across the floor. I think we just found America's next top model. Let's give them a round of applause. Go sit down, you guys. Good job. Good job. All right. Oh, middle school. You guys are in middle school, right? Oh, the memories I have of middle school, how they have fueled my writing. Do you guys still have bullies in school? Oh, I know it's against all the rules to have a bully, but it's been in all my books, and in the iFunny, we talk about it a lot. In fact, I think I developed my sense of humor as a defense mechanism against bullies. And when I was in middle school, just knowing I was going to come here took me back in time to 1968 when I was in middle school. And that's me right there. My dad wanted me to be a football player, and guess who was the worst football player ever invented? Me! I was terrible, and I spent all my time acting in plays. That's me there, acting in a play. That was fun. And don't forget, I was also that nerdy guy who was working on the school newspaper. So there was this guy named Bobby Younger. And Bobby Younger did not like nerdy little me. So Bobby Younger, every day when I would walk home from 7th grade, would jump on me and say, we're going to build a railroad on your chest. And he'd go, first we got to break up the rocks. And he'd hit me on the rocks. Now we got to plow and make sure it's flat. And he'd do one of those like Indian rub things where they go like that. Now we got to put the spikes in and put the railroads in. And every day he did this to me. And 40 years later, I was writing a book called The Crossroads. And I decided that my main character was going to be picked on by a bully who built a railroad on his chest. And I decided that my bully's name was going to be Bobby Younger, because he's grown up now to become this doctor in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He's this big, fancy dermatologist doctor. But I was going to let everybody know that when he was in 7th grade, he was nothing but a bully. So I had him attack my kid, Zach, and I'm having all sorts of fun because they say revenge is a dish best served cold, and I'm having fun writing Bobby Younger is doing this horrible thing, and everyone's going to know about Bobby Younger, the truth about Bobby Younger. And then, to beat him, my guy Zach gets some advice from his buddy Dave, who says, pull down his pants while you're fighting with him, and you'll show everyone that Bobby Younger wears big boy diapers because Bobby Younger poops his pants. So I'm having a lot of fun writing this, and then guess what happened? My mother called up. She said, Chris, guess who I just talked to? I said, who? Mrs. Younger, remember her? Used to live down the street, had that boy, Bobby. I said, yes. She reads every one of your books. She reads them 2 or 3 times each. So that day I called up Random House, and I quickly said, you know that character, Bobby Younger? We need to change his name to Kyle Snertz, or an old lady is going to have a heart attack. But if you ever read The Crossroads, and you come across a character named Kyle Snertz, you'll know his real name is my job here is done. So that's what brought back a memory of middle school. And now, actually, I think Kyle Snertz appears in all 4 of the Haunted Mystery books now. So I'm going to play one quick game, then you guys can ask me some questions. There is going to be a 3rd book in my Welcome to Wonderland series, and it's going to be called Sandapalooza Shake-Up. And it's already written, so I know the first sentence of the book. So taking that stuff we talked about when we were talking about hook sentences, tell me, is it going to be number 1, once upon a time there was a lot of sand on the beach in Florida? 2, at the Wonderland Motel, they had a sandcastle competition called a Sandapalooza. Or 3, to tell you the truth, I don't know how I survived the 14-story plunge, I told my audience. Who would vote for number 1? Couple fans of Once Upon a Time, all right. Who would vote for number 2? And who would vote for number 3? The correct answer is 3! Why did I pick 3? What's going on in 3 that makes it a good story? Yes, Hoodie Man. It's more catching, but what makes it catch? What specifically makes it more catching? Yes. You don't know what's going on, which points out another great writing tip. Never take your readers where they want to go right away. Leave them dangling in suspense. How many of you are curious about how we even survived that 14-story plunge? And what's the only way to find out the answer? Keep reading. So starting your story with some kind of questions, a good idea. I'm going to end my time with you guys by letting you ask me a bunch of questions about Mr. Lemoncello and writing and that kind of stuff. Who has a question? Yes? The Lemoncello book, I got the idea for that when I was visiting that school. And you know, when I was a kid, the librarians at all the schools and public libraries, they were there to protect the books from the children. They were kind of like, shh, be quiet, you'll wake up the books. Get your sticky fingers off the books. And I started meeting, when I started doing school visits with my Haunted Mystery, all these really cool librarians were making the library a really fun place. So I wanted to celebrate those librarians. And when the idea came when I was visiting that school. Yes, with the smile upon your face. How old am I? I'm exactly the same age as Luigi L. Lemoncello. And if you read the book closely enough, there are clues in the book that'll tell you exactly how old he is. And when you figure that out, because my whole life has to be a riddle, I can't just give answers, I have to put mysteries. I am exactly the same age as he is. Who else has that question? Yes. What's that? How can we find my email address? It's on my website. I've got a website. My web designer lives here in Napa Valley, and she's actually here right now, and she does a great job. Yes, Hoodie Man. How much money do I make a year? That all depends on how many books are purchased. Because an author gets paid what are known as royalties, so I get 10% of every one of my books sold. How much does that Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's library? I think it sells for $5.99. So if I get 10% of that, how much do I get, Hoodie Man? Come on, Hoodie Man, you asked the question, you got to do the math. What is 10% of $5.99? Move the decimal place 1 point. 59.9 cents. So I get 60 cents a book. So if I sell 10 books, how much money have I made? $6. If I sell 10 million books, how much money have I made? 60 million. Now, guess what you think the average income is of every author in the Authors Guild? So that means you have to be a professional author. Guess how much it is? Yes. Anyone have a guess? $1 million? $22,000 a year. But my friend James Patterson, guess how much money he made last year? $93 million last year. So and that's just from writing. So I would go right home and start practicing your writing right away. That's from just making up stories. He made $93 million last year, and the year before that he made $94 million. Yes. How old are those books? I guess the first Haunted Mysteries came out in 2008, so they're almost 10 years old. Wow. They're almost as old as you guys. And Lemoncello book came out on October 10th, so it's 2 months old. So everywhere from 10 years to 2 months. Yes?
What's your writing process?
My writing process, I'm impressed. That's a good question. I get up every morning. I go running. I go outside. I do a little exercise. Then I get back, and my object of every day is to write 2,000 new words, and I start the day by going over the 2,000 words I wrote the day before, sort of lightly editing them, and then that gets me back into the zone. Any of you ever, when you're writing, does it feel like you're kind of like having a dream while you're awake? You kind of like get into like this zone. That's what happens to me. I get into a zone, then I move forward 2,000 words, and if I do that consistently for like 40 or 50 days, I'll have the first draft of a book. Yes? Am I going to make a fourth Lemoncello book? Yes, I was working on it this morning before I came here because I'm trying to do my 2,000 words a day. And any of you solve the hidden puzzle in the first Lemoncello book? Anybody? There's a hidden puzzle in the first Lemoncello book. There's a hidden puzzle in the third Lemoncello book. And if you solve it and send the correct answer to me at my email address, your name will be placed inside a metaphorical hat. And on October 10th of 2018, we're going to draw one name out of that hat. And that name will have a character named after them in the fourth Lemoncello book. So that's the prize for that. Who else has a question? Anybody over here? Nobody? Yes? Oh, that's a very good point. No, you don't. You don't get any of the money. You get the glory, though. And maybe Because the character of Sierra Russell in the first Limoncello book was a girl who won a contest on my website. Now she is a character in a movie. So it's immortality we're talking about, which is kind of priceless. Yes?
Did you meet Henry Danger at Nickelodeon?
Did I meet Henry Danger? No, he wasn't there. I met some kids from some of the other shows, came to the premieres, but I think they were mostly ones from School of Rock. All right, you get the last question, my friend back here. Yes? Yes, when I work with James Patterson, we don't do that on a royalty basis. That's done on a work for hire basis, so he pays me a very generous fee, and we've done 21 books together. So we've been pals for a long time. Yes, last question. Out of all the books I've written, which one's my favorite? That's like asking my mother to pick her favorite son, and she had 5 boys in 7 years, and she picked me. But my favorite, I guess the Limoncello books, because they've won all these awards and all that stuff is nice. But what's really cool is kids who don't like to read. I was what they called a reluctant reader when I was your age. I did not like to read the broccoli books that they all told me would be good for me. Read this book, it'll be good for you. I only wanted to read books that sort of ignited a movie in my head where I could like see the story unfolding. And so Limoncello has done that for a lot of kids who don't like to read. I get emails like every week from parents and kids who say, I used to hate to read, but now I read this book and I love it. Well, thank you guys so much. I'm going to be at the library later on today. Is that correct? I'm going to be at the library. And so now I'm going to turn this over to a responsible adult, if I can find one here. We'll find a responsible adult. Oh, we got something going on here? You want to take it over? Come on up here. What? No. Here, wait, she's coming. Oh, she's coming. Someone's going to come and take this microphone over for me. Here we go. Here we go. Thank you, guys. A lot of fun.
Take a nice drink of that water. All right, so the bell is going to be ringing here shortly. The direction is that you're going to remain seated here until the bell rings. Easy. Then from there, you're going to immediately go to your 3rd period class. Easy. Good point. So some of you have your backpacks in your 2nd period teacher's classroom. So you're going to just need to scoot pretty quickly up to that 2nd period class so that you can be on time to your 3rd period class. It's not impossible.